Viewer discretion is strongly advised. What you're about to hear is raw, unfiltered, and straight from the federal courtroom of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only, based on verbatim testimony as reported by Inner City Press. Picture this. A courtroom so tense you could hear a pin drop, Diddy hunched at the defense table, his empire hanging by a thread. Weeks of allegations, racketeering, sex trafficking, coercion had already battered his reputation. But yesterday, it all exploded. A $100,000 bribe ripped the lid off this case, turning a legal battle into a full-blown circus of jaw-dropping revelations, mysterious witnesses, and a mogul fighting to save his legacy. In just 24 hours, this trial went from wild to unreal. Welcome, where we're breaking down every insane detail as it unfolds right now. Buckle up. This is about to get crazy. The stage is set, a courtroom on the brink. The Southern District of New York courtroom wasn't just a room that day. It was a battlefield, a pressure cooker, a stage for a drama that could rival any Hollywood blockbuster. Every inch of the gallery was packed. Spectators jammed shoulder to shoulder, their murmurs a low hum of anticipation. Journalists hunched over laptops, fingers poised to capture the next bombshell, while legal analysts scribbled notes, their whispers buzzing with predictions. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of expectation, like the moment before a storm breaks. At the defense table sat Sean Diddy Combs, once the untouchable king of hip-hop, now a man under siege. His suit was immaculate, tailored to perfection, a crisp white shirt gleaming under the fluorescent lights. But his face told a different story. Eyes restless, darting like a hunted animal's. Jaw clenched so tight you could see the muscles twitch. His hands, usually steady with the confidence of a mogul, fidgeted with a pen, betraying the storm raging inside. Across from him, the prosecution team radiated focus. Sharp suits, sharper minds, a stack of evidence files towering like a fortress. The jury, 12 ordinary citizens thrust into an extraordinary saga, sat in their box, a mix of expressions flickering across their faces. Skepticism, curiosity, disbelief. Some leaned forward, elbows on knees, hanging on every word. Others sat back, arms crossed, as if bracing for what was to come. The judge, Honorable Evelyn Harmon, presided from her bench, her steel gray hair pulled into a severe bun, her gaze piercing through the chaos like a lighthouse beam. Cameras whirred, their lenses trained on every move, feeding the frenzy to a world beyond those oak-paneled walls. This wasn't just a trial, it was a spectacle, a collision of power, fame, and accountability. And it was about to ignite. The rise of a mogul, Diddy's empire before the fall. To understand the stakes, you've got to rewind the clock. Sean Combs didn't just stumble into this courtroom. He built an empire that made him a legend. Born in Harlem in 1969, he clawed his way up from the streets, a kid with big dreams and bigger hustle. By the early 90s, he'd founded Bad Boy Records, turning raw talent into chart-topping gold. Biggie Smalls, Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, the names he launched became icons, their beats the soundtrack of a generation. Diddy wasn't just a producer, he was a visionary, part businessman, part showman. He threw parties that defined excess. White suits, champagne fountains, guest lists dripping with A-listers. His clothing line, Sean John, raked in millions, plastering his name on billboards and store shelves. Ciroc vodka? He turned it into a cultural juggernaut, sipping it in music videos that screamed luxury and invincibility. But the shine hid shadows. Whispers followed him. Lawsuits, allegations, rumors of control and coercion. The 1999 nightclub shooting tied to his crew left a stain, even if he walked away legally unscathed. Cassie, his on and off partner for over a decade, stayed silent for years, her story a quiet undercurrent until it burst into this trial. Diddy's charm and charisma had always deflected the noise, his smile a shield against scrutiny. By 2023, his net worth hovered near $1 billion, his influence sprawling across music, fashion, and media. He was untouchable, or so he thought. Now, in that courtroom, the empire he'd built brick by brick was cracking, and the world was watching it crumble. The bombshell drops. 100K bribe exposed. The trial had already been a roller coaster. Weeks of testimony painting Diddy as a puppet master, pulling strings to silence victims and bury evidence. But nothing prepared the room for what came next. The prosecution called Marcus Reed, a former hotel security supervisor, to the stand. Reed was a wiry guy, mid-40s, with a buzz cut and a smirk that said he'd seen the underbelly of power and lived to tell it. He took the oath, his voice steady but laced with a hint of glee, and then unleashed a grenade. Diddy paid me $100,000 to bury that 2016 assault video, he said, each word landing like a punch. The gallery gasped, a sharp collective intake of breath that rippled through the room. Papers stopped rustling, pencils froze. Even the court reporter's fingers hesitated on her keys. Reed leaned into the mic, spinning a tale straight out of a crime novel. It was late 2016, he said, at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. Diddy had cornered him in a service hallway, dimly lit, the hum of an ice machine in the background. He slid me a brown paper bag, Reed recounted, thick with cash, hundreds stacked tight. Told me, keep this quiet or you'll regret it. The video in question? Grainy security footage allegedly showing Diddy assaulting Cassie in a hotel suite. A clip the prosecution claimed he'd spent years suppressing. Reed signed an NDA, pocketed the bribe, and splurged on a cherry-red Dodge Charger. Hush money turned horsepower, parked proudly in his driveway until the feds came knocking. Diddy's reaction was instant, visceral. His face drained to an ashen gray, hands gripping the defense table so hard his knuckles bulged white against his skin. His legal team scrambled, heads bent in frantic whispers. But the damage was done. The jury scribbled furiously. One man's brow furrowed, a woman's jaw dropped. Cassie's attorney, seated near the front, let a slow, satisfied smirk curl her lips. The gallery buzzed like a disturbed beehive, whispers swelling into a roar until Judge Harmon's gavel cracked down. "Order!" she barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. This wasn't just evidence, it was a sledgehammer to Diddy's defense, and the cracks were spreading fast. Diddy's meltdown. A mogul unravels. Reed stepped down, but the storm was just beginning. Diddy, a man who'd thrived on control, commanding stages, boardrooms, entire industries, lost it. "This is a lie," he roared, slamming his fist on the table with a thud that reverberated like a gunshot. The gallery jolted, heads snapping up, eyes wide, a ripple of shock spreading like wildfire. His voice cracked, raw with desperation, veins bulging in his neck as he glared at Reed's retreating back. "He's lying. I never—" His words cut off as his lead attorney, a wiry man in a pinstripe suit, grabbed his arm, hissing, "Sean, stop!" But Diddy shook him off, chest heaving, eyes wild like a cornered lion's. Cassie sat in the gallery, a silent sentinel through weeks of testimony, her face an unreadable mask until now. She didn't flinch at his outburst, her gaze locked on him, steady and cold, a quiet strength radiating from her. The jury felt the weight of it. One older woman shook her head, lips pursed in disapproval. A younger man scribbled notes, his hand trembling slightly. Judge Harmon raised her gavel, the wood gleaming under the lights, and brought it down with a crack. "Mr. Combs," she said, her tone ice cold, "this is your only warning. One more outburst, and you will be removed from this courtroom." Security guards edged closer, hands resting on their belts, their shadows looming over the defense table. Diddy sank back into his chair, breathing ragged, sweat beading on his forehead. For a man who'd always owned the room, this was the moment it turned on him. Cassie's stand, a voice breaks free. Cassie's presence had been a quiet thunderhead throughout the trial. Her story the heartbeat of the prosecution's case, yet she'd stayed silent, letting the evidence speak. She'd endured years of public scrutiny, veiled threats, and the suffocating weight of her past with Diddy. But Reed's testimony, the bribe, the video, the cover-up, lit a fuse. As Diddy's outburst faded into a tense hush, she rose from her seat in the gallery, her movements deliberate, almost ceremonial. The room stilled, every eye swiveling to her, the air crackling with expectation. She wore a simple black blazer, her hair pulled back, but there was nothing simple about the fire in her eyes. "I'm not scared anymore," she said, her voice soft but piercing, slicing through the silence like a blade wrapped in velvet. It wasn't a shout. It didn't need to be. Each word carried the weight of years, a declaration of defiance that hit harder than any scream. Tears glistened in her eyes, catching the light, but they didn't fall. She wouldn't give him that victory. Across the room, Diddy's gaze faltered. He looked away, a flicker of something. Fear? Shame? Breaking through his mask. The jury felt it viscerally. One woman dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Another nodded slowly, as if Cassie's words had unlocked something in her. The prosecution team exchanged glances, a quiet triumph passing between them. For Cassie, this wasn't just testimony, it was liberation, a signal that the tide wasn't just turning, it was crashing down. The witness parade, voices from the shadows. Reed's bombshell opened the floodgates, and the prosecution wasn't done. Over the next hours, a parade of witnesses took the stand, each adding a layer to the unraveling tapestry of Diddy's world. There was Tanya Brooks, a former assistant at Bad Boy Records, her voice trembling but resolute. She described a 2015 incident, Diddy allegedly locking a young artist in a studio for 48 hours, demanding she prove her loyalty in ways Brooks wouldn't detail on the record. "He said it was business," she whispered, "but it felt like a prison." The jury shifted uncomfortably, one man rubbing his temples as if the weight of her words pressed on him. Next came Jamal Carter, a freelance videographer who'd worked Diddy's parties. He claimed he'd filmed "things I can't unsee," coerced encounters, hush money passed in VIP rooms, all under Diddy's watchful eye. He'd smile for the cameras, Carter said, then turn into someone else when they clicked off. His hands shook as he spoke, but his stare was steady, daring the defense to challenge him. Diddy's lawyers tried. Cross-examination was brutal, painting Carter as a disgruntled opportunist. But the jury's faces told a different story. Doubt was creeping in, and it was spreading. Then there was Elena Vasquez, a hotel maid who'd cleaned Diddy's suites for years. She recounted finding disturbing things: torn clothing, smeared makeup, a broken lamp after his stays. "I heard crying once," she said, her accent thick but her memory sharp. "Behind a locked door. I knocked but no one answered." Her testimony was quieter than the others, but it landed like a stone in still water, ripples fanning out across the room. The defense objected, hearsay, speculation. But Judge Harmon overruled, her expression unreadable. Piece by piece, the witnesses were building a mosaic, and Diddy's pristine image was fracturing under the weight. The fallout, a digital firestorm in a crumbling empire. The chaos didn't stay confined to the courtroom. It erupted into the digital realm with the force of a tsunami. Within hours, clips of Reed's testimony hit social media, racking up 60 million views across Instagram, TikTok, and X. Hashtags like #Diddy Trial and Justice for Cassie trended worldwide. The internet, a battleground of reactions. Fans who'd idolized Diddy for decades grappled with shock. "Say it ain't so," one tweeted, a broken heart emoji punctuating the plea. Others turned fierce. "Time's up for predators," a viral post declared, amassing 200,000 likes in an hour. Celebrities, once Diddy's inner circle, couldn't dodge the spotlight. Usher, a longtime collaborator, quietly unfollowed him on Instagram, a subtle cut that screamed volumes. Justin Bieber posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Sometimes we learn too late who people really are," a black screen with white text that fans dissected for hours. Cardi B went full throttle, tweeting, "Protect women, no matter how powerful the man is, period." Drake liked a post that read, "Real ones, speak up. Cowards, stay quiet," a move that sparked a flurry of memes. Even Jay-Z, a titan who rarely wades into drama, was rumored to be distancing himself, his silence louder than any statement. The business fallout was swift and brutal. Revolt, Diddy's media company, plunged into crisis mode. Executives huddled in emergency meetings as advertisers like Pepsi and AT&T pulled funding. their logos vanishing from the network's roster overnight. Sean John's retail partners hesitated, whispers of canceled orders swirling. Ciroc, the vodka brand he'd elevated to icon status, issued a vague statement about monitoring the situation. But the damage was palpable. Stock analysts downgraded his ventures, predicting losses in the tens of millions. The music industry, long a boys' club of unspoken rules, held its breath. This wasn't just Diddy's reckoning. It was a tremor that could shake the foundations. The broader implications, a cultural shift beyond the courtroom, and the headlines the trial was igniting a bigger conversation. The Me Too movement, reignited by high-profile cases, found new fuel here. Activists pointed to Diddy as a symbol, power unchecked, privilege weaponized. This is about more than one man, a feminist scholar tweeted, her thread going viral. It's about systems that protect the powerful and silence the vulnerable. Protests popped up outside the courthouse, small but vocal, signs reading, "Believe survivors and no more NDAs," waving in the October chill. Music journalists penned think pieces. Is hip-hop finally facing its reckoning? One headline asked, dissecting decades of bravado and buried scandals. The cultural ripple reached fans too. Playlists shifted. Diddy's hits like "I'll Be Missing You" saw streaming dips, replaced by Cassie's early tracks, a quiet show of solidarity. Younger artists, Gen Z voices who'd grown up on his beats, started speaking out. "We don't need kings who hurt people," a rising rapper posted, her video racking up views. The trial was peeling back layers, forcing a generation to question the idols they'd crowned. It wasn't just Diddy on trial. It was an era, a mindset, a mythology. And the verdict, whatever it would be, promised to echo far beyond these walls. What's next? The mysterious Jane looms. But the story's far from over. The plot's thickening by the minute. The prosecution's next move? A witness codenamed Jane, shrouded in secrecy so tight it's got the press salivating. No video feeds, no leaks, no hints. Just a name on a sealed docket and a courtroom cleared of all but essential personnel. Who is she? A former lover with a smoking gun? An insider who flipped? A victim whose story could tip the scales? The prosecution's smirking like they've got a royal flush, while Diddy's team looks like they're staring down a freight train. Rumors swirl. She's linked to a 2018 incident, a party that ended in chaos, but no one's talking. Judge Harmon's locked it down, her orders crisp. This testimony is sensitive. No exceptions. The anticipation's electric. Whatever Jane's got, it's big enough to rattle the cage. Don't blink. This could be the knockout punch. Conclusion. Stay locked in for the drama. And there you have it, the latest, wildest chapter in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. From a $100,000 bribe that torched his defense to a courtroom meltdown that bared his soul, this case is delivering drama hotter than a summer blockbuster. Cassie's defiance, a crumbling empire, a mystery witness on deck. It's all unfolding right now. Smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon. We're dropping updates as fast as these twists hit.